Good morning, all of you. Um, I hope that you have been enjoying this course. Based on the feedback that I have been receiving, I think so most of you are very excited with what you have learned. So let me just yeah, okay. So okay, so I hope that you all have been able to grasp the essence of Internet of Things and the basic principles. As I told you in the previous session as well, that this is an introductory level course. It has been designed that way, although we have put a lot of stuff which are not necessarily introductory in nature, but we wanted that the participants of this course, they get as much knowledge as possible on IoT, keeping in mind that too much of in-depth understanding is scoped out from the course. Mostly we wanted to give you an overview of the different essential concepts on IoT, and that is why we have structured this particular course in this particular manner. Now that we are coming close to the end of this particular session, this is your third live session with me. You have the opportunity to ask any kind of question that you have, and I would be happy to take your questions one after the other. Remember one thing, that in the discussion forum, the whole purpose was that whatever question you have, you ask the question and you get more technical insight. Over here, because of the limited duration of time, if you ask me to go through a particular lecture all over again, we will not be able to have that much of time, right? So that is not possible. That is not the purpose of this session as well. This session is particularly expected to be interactive, so that questions which are short in nature, etc., you could ask, and we would be able to help you as much as we can. Another thing before we actually get started with the individual questions is that when I had recorded the lectures a couple of years back, at that time there was no textbook, or very limited textbook type resources that were available. So what I did was that I tried to draw the boundaries myself. I tried to plan the course based on what I felt at that point to be the most important concepts that one should know after doing an introductory course on Internet of Things. IoT is fast evolving. It is very fast evolving. So it is quite likely that many of these things, the concepts, they are also changing their nature, their scope, their intent as well. So with keeping that in mind, very recently, I co-authored a textbook on Internet of Things, which is published by Cambridge University Press. In less than a week, this book is expected to be in the market. So it is also an introductory textbook on Internet of Things, particularly keeping these fast courses on IoT in mind it has been written, but I am pretty sure that if you supplement your knowledge beyond what you have learned in this course by going through the textbook, I'm pretty sure that you would be able to get better insights, because many things that have changed, so those have also been included in addition to what was already existing. Many things, many newer stuff have also been included in the textbook. So up to you, the course will end, but you, if you want, you can get access to the textbook. And also there are actually two textbooks that are being launched around the same time. One is the one that I just told you, Cambridge University Press, Introduction to IoT. The other one is basically a book which is based on my other course, which is Introduction to Industrial Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. That is published by by CRC Press, US. Both of these books are good companions to have if one is interested to pursue further career, or if you are in a college, if you want to teach IoT. Both of these courses, both of these books, I'm pretty sure are going to be helpful to you. So this is the information that I wanted to pass on to you. So far this course has been very successful. Every time we get a couple of tens of thousands of participants in this course, and it is being offered twice a year starting from the very beginning. And I get a lot of I get a lot of messages, emails, calls, etc. How this course has benefited the students beyond this lecture, beyond this course material. I mean, so how it has benefited in their workplace. So many teachers, they have started their many college teachers, they have started their own courses in their college based on this course. Many industry people, people from the industries, students from the industries, they have started getting involved with IoT, IoT application based projects in their company. So like that, and I'm very glad that because it was a foundational course, not too many too much of material was available, and also this was one of the first courses to be started in the country, right? So in such a massive scale. So this course has had a massive impact, and I would also urge you to do the same. So beyond this, beyond this course, you try to, wherever is your workplace, you please try to implement either by introducing a new course, or by if you are in the industry, by starting some application oriented projects based on IoT in your workplace. And I think that will be a good thing. So your whatever you are learning, that is going to help you. So with this initial thoughts, I wanted to interact with you further. I will first start with the questions that we have got offline, and then take up one by one the other things that I see coming through this live session. So the question that was asked by someone offline was, what should I do after this course if I want to build my career in the field of IoT? So yeah, this is a very good thing, and it is relevant to what I just told. So if you want to build a career in IoT, there are two options that you have. If you are in a college, right? So the good start would be, if you do not already have, if your college doesn't already have a course on IoT, you can consider initiating a course on IoT. Right? And if you are from the industry, think about what knowledge that you have acquired from this course, which could be applied to some of the problems that you are involved with on a day-to-day basis. Simple IoT based projects, connecting few different IoT nodes, and building an IoT node is pretty easy, right? So I already told you, so you have all these open source hardwares like Arduinos, then you have the Node MCU, then you have Raspberry Pi, etc. So Raspberry Pi has more computational power. It is much more powerful. So you can build some kind of an IoT network architecture, and in a small scale, in a prototype scale, you can start building solutions. To get more knowledge about um, you know the steps that would be required to build these IoT nodes, in the internet you will be able to get lots of hands-on materials nowadays available, right? In this course, because it is more academically oriented, we tried to, we introduced to certain extent some of these hands-on stuff, but we did not go too much deep into it because the whole purpose was a bit different, right? However, in the internet, you will be able to get a lot of tutorials. Step-wise, they teach you how to build small IoT applications. So you can start with those as well, right? Because now that you have good in-depth understanding of the academically oriented concepts, right? So you can start building some small applications yourself, right? So so whether you are from an academic institution or whether you are from an industry, you think about how you can apply the knowledge that you have acquired through this particular course. And then so I think the rest of the stuff will follow, because now that you have acquired sufficient knowledge based on the tutorials that you do, etc., you should be able to scale up gradually. You should start with building small prototypes, and then working with your management to try to get some good projects where you can apply those concepts that based on which you have built the prototype. So like that, you can gain the confidence of your organization, and so you can, maybe you can, you would be the one who would be starting a vertical on IoT in your organization, right? So, and most of the industries nowadays, they are trying to transcend to cater to the requirements of industry 4.0, and this would be a good opportunity for you to get started. And if you have along with this introduction to IoT course, if you have done the course on industrial Internet of Things and industry 4.0, the other course that is running parallelly this semester, if you have done it, then it is even more wonderful, right? So both of these courses together must have strengthened you to acquire enough knowledge to proceed forward. Okay, so I think that should answer your question. Next question is that, could you explain about NPTEL exam pattern? Are questions asked in final exam similar to the ones in assignments? It's difficult to answer, right? So I should not be revealing all stuff, but one thing I can tell you, that if you have done the assignment sincerely yourself, you should be pretty much in a good position to answer the questions in the exam, right? You can expect that the question pattern, the type of question will have a lot of similarity. Not everything will be similar, but a lot of similarity you can expect in the type of assignments that you got and type of questions in the exam. The difficulty level may be different, so, and even you must have noticed that across assignments also the difficulty levels varied, and in the exam the difficulty level of the questions may be different. So it will be a mix actually. Some questions will be relatively straightforward, some questions little more difficult, some even more difficult, like that. So, but I think if you have done this course sincerely, seriously, and you have supplemented your knowledge based on whatever you have learned, if you have supplemented with something additional, it is even more wonderful, and you should be able to do well in the exam, right? So, and every time, so every semester that we offer this course, after the course, actually students, they are pretty satisfied. So that should be, that should that should speak that so you would also be probably experiencing the same thing after the exam. Okay, so next question is that what is the application of IoT in coal mining? In coal mining, I will tell you that 2 projects I have executed myself based on IoT applications. Both of them were based on IoT applications in coal mining, basically coal mining, right? So, and both of these projects have been on, they were funded by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MIT, and we have executed both of these projects. I can share some of the experiences. I'm just trying to think, while I speak. So there are a lot of stuffs that we have achieved through these courses, through these projects. And so one thing I can share with you, experience with IoT. See, I will tell you, coal mines, right? So coal mines, there are some typical problems. There are tens of problems that are there, maybe hundreds that are there in coal mining, right? Mines as such have a lot of problems. Coal mines even more problems. So trying to understand what these problems are and trying to see if IoT can help build some systems which could be used to address some of these problems is something that we have been doing. And if you are also interested in coal mining, you should be doing the same. So in one of my current projects, which is on the digital mines, we are looking into a lot of, I am doing it along with our project partner, which is SIMFAR, CSIR SIMFAR, which is a mining and fuel research institute, CSIR institute. And we are, working with them to address large number of different problems such as, mine safety. Mine safety also has different issues. Fire is one, then roof fall is another, because so what happens, I will tell you, in coal mines, there are certain dangerous gases, right? Dangerous gases such as methane, inflammable gases, easily inflammable gases, methane, then other dangerous gases like carbon monoxide, then ammonia, etc. Like that, so a lot of different types of harmful gases are present inside the mines, right? If it is an underground mine, if it is an overground, which is called open cast mine, then the situation is a bit different. But if it is an underground mine, then you have large number different types of gases, harmful gases that are present, right? So these harmful gases, some of these gases are highly inflammable, and some of these other gases are highly toxic for the mine workers to inhale continuously for long durations of time. So one of the things that these mining engineers, what they do is, inside the mine where the excavation goes on, they continuously monitor the concentration of these different gases, right, harmful gases. So normally, it is being done using some devices, right? So standalone devices, periodically at certain intervals of time, somebody goes and monitors the concentration of these gases that are present. So as you can understand, it is a human intensive procedure which is adopted in order to measure the concentration of the gases. So wherever you have human intervention, wherever you have human intensive procedures, there actually the main problem is that so these are prone to errors, right? So different types of errors, and you are also not going to measure, humans are not going to continuously be there to measure the concentration of these gases continuously, right? So one of the applications that we have been working on is that to build IoT, IoT based system which would be different, which would be placed in the different locations on the inside the mine to continuously measure in real time, continuously measure the concentration of these gases across, right? Depending on where it has to be monitored, the different IoT nodes, which again are interconnected between them using the architectures that you have studied in the course. So we we deploy these different nodes, and interconnect them, and then continuously, maybe from some control station, continuously monitor the concentration of these gases. You could even have some kind of an alert generator, which automatically will notify the concerned monitoring station or the concerned stakeholders whenever there is a change in the levels of these harmful gases beyond an acceptable limit. Okay, so this is one application. Another application is roof fall, right? So what happens is that this is a very common problem that happens in the mining industry, is that these, whenever there is some excavation that is going on, there is some some kind of an empty space that gets created because the coal is taken out, but the strata that is above that excavated portion, that is quite heavy, right? The strata is quite heavy. So consequently, what happens is that the strata creates enough pressure underneath, and the roof in that mine, it basically collapses, right? So there is a roof fall, and because of the roof fall, many people, they die. It's a very dangerous thing. Many workers, they would die, and it's not something very localized, right? So it happens over a large area, right? So it is a very dangerous thing. So that is why these mining engineers, when they excavate coal, they do they take out the coal in a very systematic way. They also have their own ways in which they excavate the coal. One such methodology is called board and pillar coal mining, right? So board and pillar coal mining. In board and pillar coal mining, what happens is that there are some pillars that are left in between these excavated portions, so that the strata above is held strong by these different pillars, right? So then the question is that how do you monitor what is the strength of these pillars, how much of the coal has to be excavated, how much has to be left for the pillar to hold the strata above. So these things have to be continuously monitored as well, right? So for that also IoT can be used. Now, so I think so this is second. Then health conditions of the mine workers, right? So that is another thing that is also important, continuously monitoring the health conditions of the mine workers. Then like that, actually there are so many different applications that are there of IoT in coal mining, right? So I'm not going through more such applications. I think this should be sufficient for you to get some idea, right? And yeah, so let me just have a look at what are the other questions that you have. Okay, so now comes another question. Again, I think it is pretty similar to the question that somebody else asked. So kindly let us know about the exam pattern and provide, if any, sample question papers or last year's question papers. This will help us in taking reference about the kind of exam we are appearing at. So a couple of things I would like to tell you once again. I already told you about my viewpoint about revealing the type of questions or the exam pattern. I think, if you have done the assignments seriously yourself, independently, if you have done, you should be pretty well positioned to handle the questions that are asked in the exam. Not necessarily that the same questions will be asked, the ones that you have faced in the assignments, the same questions will be asked. Not necessarily, may or may not be. There may be, a lot of different other types of questions that may also be there. But the main thing is that if you have gone through the lectures yourself, if you have understood, and if you have independently answered the assignments, you should be pretty comfortable to answer the questions that are asked, most of the questions that are asked in the exam. So last year's question papers, contact NPTEL if you want to, if they would like to release those. I myself, I am not going to give you any previous question papers, but if NPTEL has any such policy, NPTEL Swayam, you can contact them. They also have access to these. So I do not know whether it is allowed or not to release previous year's question papers. So if they want, they can. If it is allowed, they will give you access, right? And so you have to, so for these kind of things, you will have to contact NPTEL directly. I do not basically deal with these kind of requests. So but if you also have the previous year's question paper, you only will get some idea, right? To some extent. We are also evolving. We also change questions. We, we try to ensure that as much as possible, we have different flavor to our question papers. So I think, previous question paper may not help much if I were to appear for the exam myself in your place. Right. I think that should answer your question to the extent that I could be of help to you in this regard. Next question is that please send me question pattern and I need model question paper. Again, the same thing, I think I have already answered. Please send me to my email. Oh, so your email address also you have given. Unfortunately, I will not be communicating with you directly through personal contacts. So whatever questions you have, please make sure that you put in your discussion forum or you contact NPTEL directly, right? So question pattern I already told you, and model question paper, again contact NPTEL if they want, and if they have the policy, they will release. But I myself, I am unable to. But so you can expect some MCQs, etc. Some some short answer type, right? Some so it's difficult actually. I mean, I cannot tell you exactly, so what all will be there, but I think. So if you, as I said before, right? So if you have gone through all the lectures carefully, and if you have, if you have done the assignments independently yourself, you should be well positioned to handle the questions, most of the questions, not all. You should be well positioned to handle most of the questions. Some questions may be a little tricky. Some questions may need a little bit of more insight, etc., beyond what directly has been conveyed to you. But that is normal, right? So, but most of it you will be comfortable if you have done the course properly. There have been some speculation that exam would be MCQ, fill-ups and definition. Is it true, or the exam will have only MCQs? I can't comment beyond what I have already said, right? So I think, so these kind of questions, so ask NPTEL if they can reveal anything further. Again, somebody has asked, I have a doubt regarding the pattern. Pattern means, I think you mean exam pattern. Can you explain about the pattern? Is it MCQ or MCQ and fill in the blanks? Is it full of MCQ? I think I already mentioned a couple of times today. Someone has asked, I have a lot of internet issues, how to overcome? I can access lecture only by system in proper manner. Please contact NPTEL, right? So please contact NPTEL. I am unable to help you in this regard, right? So I think NPTEL will be able to help you with your internet issues if they have any provision to do so. Next question, week 12, question 5, explain it. What is week 12? What is question 5? Okay, so if you write like this, it is difficult, right? So, okay, so I think the question is about the smart water management system. Which of the following layers is responsible for presenting the data to the users or consumers? I think you have already previously you have got the solution to it. So it's basically the application layer, right? So application layer, that's the answer. And the users basically, as you know, in any IoT application, they need to visualize the data from the sensors, right? So this data that are coming from the sensors, right? So as if you recall the typical IoT network architecture, typically the sensor nodes are deployed, they are all interconnected. So they sense and they send the data remotely, right? So these data are basically processed. These sensor data are processed. These sensors are in the sensing layer, and the data are stored in the storage layer. Okay, so the processes are captured and delivered along with the inferences through the service layer, in addition to the other features that are explained previously in the different lectures, right? So this application layer, it hosts the dashboard for containing interactive graphs, annotations, etc. So that is the reason actually the answer is application layer, right? So if you have to choose one of them, then application layer is the best answer that one can. Again, another question. I completed my MCA. I joined to enhance knowledge and keep myself to update as per industry standard. Can you provide internship and will get help in better job? Right. So I think I answered this previously in the previous interactive session as well. So we normally in Swan Lab, that I am the director of, not director, but I am the lead of the Swan Lab that we have built in IIT Kharagpur, which is IoT based, and so it is. So we do a lot of we build a lot of stuff, IoT based systems, prototypes. We have a lot of applications that we built, software, etc. concerning IoT. So basically, essentially, what we do is all IoT, right? So normally every semester I used to take some students for doing internship in the Swan Lab, and one or two of them I used to take through the NPTEL. NPTEL also recommends some students for internship. I used to take, but this time actually, due to the current pandemic, I am unable to take any interns, through the Swan Lab. However, I am part of a startup company at IIT Kharagpur in the Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Park at IIT Kharagpur. They take interns. This winter also they have taken interns, and I'm not sure actually that whether there are any vacancies anymore. Probably these are all filled up. But if you are interested, drop me an email separately, and or you can contact any of the TAs, and they would be able to connect you to the concerned people the company. It's a startup company on IoT. So they, so they will, the TAs will connect you to the company, and they will be able to give you more information further, right? So per se, through the Swan Lab, I'm not taking any further interns. Okay. So if the situation improves in the summer, probably I would be able to. Then another question, I think mostly coming from the same person, same student, very excited about the course, the materials. I can see that. So thank you. So you have a lot of interest, enthusiasm to learn more. That's very exciting to know. So the question the same student is asking is that, can you explain a sync node, right? So sync node you already know, right? So in a typical sensor network, what is a sync node? It was covered in detail in the lectures on the sensor networks, right? So this was already covered. So in the lecture, so let me just, since you have asked, let me quickly give you some idea. So in a sensor network, typical sensor networks are multi-hop in nature, right? So and IoT networks typically are sensor network. So typically they have the characteristics of a sensor network. So typically what happens in a typical topology of a sensor network, you have different nodes, which are the sensor nodes, meaning that each of these nodes, they can sense the physical phenomena that are occurring around them. So these physical phenomena could be like, around a particular sensor, whether there is some kind of vibration that is happening around a particular sensor, whether there is, whether there is any fire around a particular sensor, whether there is the presence of methane gas beyond a particular threshold, like that, so you can have different types of sensor nodes. These sensor nodes, they because of the sensor that is present in them, they continuously sense the data, and these data are the data have to be processed further, right? So these data are sent typically through this multi-hop path, typically but not necessarily, through this multi-hop path to the remote destination for further storage and processing, and storage, right? So sync nodes are the ones that collect the data from the sensor nodes, and a typical sync node may also be a sensor node by itself, maybe with higher processing capabilities, higher storage, higher battery power, right? So increased configuration, right? But it may or may not be a sensor enabled node. It can be without any sensor, right? So the sync nodes, they collect data from the sensor nodes and they store them, right? So why are they stored? Because they have to be processed. Now the question is that where the processing is going to be done. First of all, where it is going to be stored, where it will be. So is the sync node, it is going to do the storage and processing, or where it is going to be done. So sync node is typically the one which receives the data that are collected from all the other source nodes in that particular network, right? But after that, what does the sync node do? Where is the storage and the processing done? So for that, actually, there are different options that are there. As I said before, that the sync node may be much more powerful compared to the other source nodes from where this data are coming. So they may have higher processing power. The sync nodes may have even storage capabilities, or the other possibility is that connected to the sync node, you have some additional infrastructure, maybe a separate PC, or you have additional storage device or whatever, maybe a server connected to the sync node or whatever, so it all depends on the kind of configuration that you would like to have. So these sync nodes, either they are going to process and store themselves, or the more often the implementation is that connected to the sync nodes are going to be a separate server or a workstation or something like that, and which is going to do which will have more power than the sync node, and it is going to do the processing and storage itself over there. So if you, so this is typically what is done, right? But if you want to strictly stick to the definition of the sync node, the sync node should not be sending any data, right? Sync nodes typically receive the data. They are the receivers of the data. They store in the database either within the node or directly connected to the node. But typically, the sync nodes are the receivers of the data. Okay, and that is why they are called so sync node. Sync means what? That where everything is received, right? So basically, it is kind of the last node, the outlet or something like that, where all the data from the different sources are finally, where they flow to the ultimate flow of the data, they come to the particular node. So again, I think the same student is very excited and has more questions. Intermittent connectivity. So please explain intermittent connectivity. So intermittent connectivity means intermittent connectivity, right? Where the connectivity is not there continuously. And we, so in our country with mobile phones, we have experienced intermittent connectivity, right? So whenever we are talking, sometimes, we find that the connectivity, when we are talking on a mobile phone and driving, right? Sometimes due to different reasons, the calls may drop, but maybe because sometimes, there is no connectivity in a particular patch of road, right? So connectivity will again be restored once the signals are received, right? So that is the intermittent connectivity. So intermittent connectivity is when for example, the modem, the router, they drop the connections at random intervals. That is also intermittent connectivity. So, sometimes due to the variation of speed, but not necessarily due to the variation of speed, or sometimes due to lack of signal strength, etc., appropriate signal strength, calls may be dropped, right? So that is also intermittent connectivity. So basically, it is about retaining the connection, and if the devices they stop, if they start dropping the connections, and then restore once the connections are available, so that leads to a situation where the connectivity is intermittent. So some question again on last time preparation tips for the exam. I think, so don't need to be too much worried. If you have gone through the course content properly, go through all the course content, do not leave out anything. Very carefully, please go through all the lectures that are there, and I think you should be pretty comfortable, right? So we are not in most of the questions, we are not going to ask you anything that is going to be too difficult, right? So you should be pretty comfortable if you have gone through the materials and if you have done the assignments properly. Question: how is reverse hashing to get patient ID possible? No. So you see that the question you have to understand. You have to understand the issue. I think you are talking about. I'm not sure from which part of the lecture you have picked this up, but if it is regarding the healthcare application, right, of IoT, then so this is like this, right? So hashing is the process of converting a string or a key, as you know, or its input into another value, right, using some kind of a mathematical function, some mathematical routine, right? That is basically typically is what is done in a typical hashing function, hashing mechanism. So this hashing basically, as you know, it seems that it can be used for indexing as well as masking user information and enhancing privacy. And this is a very common thing that is practiced, right? This is a very common thing. It is not like something. So this is basically, so use of hashing for protecting privacy is something that is typically practiced, right? So by reverse process, it means that if first of all a reverse process will exist to retrieve the original text from the hash, right? And this process one can term as the reverse hashing. So this is, do not take the term typically, by the use of, so it's basically, this is where this concept of reverse hashing or something is applied. Okay. So please give solutions of exam questions also. Yeah, so contact NPTEL. Okay. Please arrange one more live session so I can ask you. So yeah, so if you have any further doubts, please put it in the discussion forum, right? So this is all I can tell you for now. We are almost coming towards the end of this particular session. I will take up one more question, one or two more, let me see. So, which is used for hiding and masking patient identity in IoT healthcare? Which is used means what is used probably, right? So there are so many mechanisms that are there, right? So many mechanisms. As you can understand that it is very important to mask the patient identity. That I think is pretty much clear to you, right? So why do you mask? Because when you are analyzing the patient data or any kind of health data, it is very important to protect the privacy of the individuals. You do not want to reveal that somebody has a serious health condition to all others without the consent of the individual concerned. So typically for health data analytics, whether it is the data are obtained through IoT systems or otherwise, there are so many laws that are there around the world. You must be knowing about HIPAA, right? HIPAA is a Privacy Protection Health Data Privacy Protection Act, which basically in our country probably we do not have this, but probably I am not very sure, but it is typically there. HIPAA laws are there in North America, right? GDPR also talks about privacy, right? So privacy of the individuals, right? So individuals' data. GDPR in Europe. So like that, the data that are collected from the healthcare sensors or even otherwise also, the privacy have to be protected. The data have to be secured, right? So it all depends on what you want to use, whether you want to mask the identity using hashing mechanism like what I said before, or you want to use some other mechanism. It all depends on your implementation, your way how you want to. You can even use some encryption based methods, right, to protect the sanctity of these data, right? So even some encryption methods like AES 128, AES 256, etc. So even RSA, and so these are all like different things that could be used. Okay, so so this is it. I think that should answer your question. Like this, actually, this I will tell you that information hiding, right, and masking of different data. These are very important things, and people use different mechanisms to hide the information of individuals, right? So many different computational techniques are available. I mean, not just encryption and hashing mechanisms, etc., but like this, actually, there are so many others. So, so I will, I think, so I will have to stop over here. We are already over time, and so I think rest of the questions will take time to answer. But so just feel free to put it up in the discussion forum. So somebody has asked about Fieldbus and industrial Ethernet. I do not know. Probably it looks like you are doing the other course on Industry 4.0. right, that I am running. So over there, I explain what is Fieldbus, what is industrial internet. So if you are not doing the course, just go through the corresponding materials wherever I am covering the communication protocols, communication systems. So in that particular course, there are lectures, recorded lectures you can go through to understand these concepts. Okay. I think some other questions need not be answered, like if somebody fails the course, whether you are going to get a refund back or not, please contact NPTEL. I think these are questions that should not be asked over here like this. Okay, so please ask NPTEL. I do not know, I do not care, I do not deal with these kind of issues. So you have to deal directly with NPTEL. I have only created the content so that you all know this content was recorded a couple of years back. I only created the content and I am just handling this live session and so giving you the assignments, right? So this is what is the scope of my work over here. Okay, so all the best, and I think this was a couple of interesting questions. I was very pleased to answer. So I hope that you all will do pretty well. I see that a lot of uneasiness exists around the anticipation of not being able to do the exam properly or something like that. So do not worry about it. I'm pretty confident that if yourself you are confident that you have done the course materials and you have done gone through the materials, you have done the assignments properly, I'm pretty sure that you will be able to do well. So don't worry about that part and keep so for most of the questions you should be able to be answered properly if you have gone through the materials carefully, right? Okay, so thank you and all the best, and take care. I hope that you have uh, the rest of the time in NPTEL lecture you enjoy, and I wish you all success in your exam. Thank you, all the best. Bye bye.